Hello and welcome to Bleeding Tree Gaming. My name's Amy, aka Warpfiend, and today I am joined by...
Hello, I'm Luke, aka Sir Mime.
And today we're looking on the latest of the AOS 4.0 faction focuses. And this time it's my boys,
The
Idoneth
Deepkin!
Deepkin. I just started collecting this army at the start of the year before back problems kind of halted the progress on them.
It's a stunning army that you've got through so far as well, though. Like, your conversion work's been absolutely
thank you.
top
Yeah,
notch.
it's been fun creating all kinds of deep sea horrors from them. I actually haven't had a chance to play a game with them yet, though, although I have read the rules. So let's see what the new rules are going to be like. Or am I going to have missed out? We'll see. We'll see. So starting off battle traits, they've done it again.
Deep strike.
Just give us a basic deep strike rule. This is slightly different in that you're picking a regiment led by a hero rather than like
That's pretty big, that one, because as well, if it's your warlord's regiment as well, that's like potentially 4 units you can have off the board.
So that, you know, it's good, but it could be a core rule with like a little rule that says, oh, this applies to a regiment rather than a particular unit or whatever. We have lost the nightmares rule that lets them you can only target them if they're the closest unit. Which I was kind of looking forward to using, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's shooting definitely seems like it's still a thing in this edition, so
yeah, that's it. Even if it has been like lessened, particularly in range.
I think we'll see later on that there is a character that potentially unlocks something akin to that.
Yep. So the tides are fairly much the same. There's some slight changes, like instead of being in cover for low tide, it's just subtract 1 from hit rolls.
They do seem to have changed this quite a bit, though, haven't they? There does seem to be a very big thing that they don't want save characteristics being affected too much.
Yes.
With any like positive results in this edition, because even the cover rule, isn't it? It's just -1 to hit as opposed to cover.
Yes, yeah. So they do seem to be changing the way that works for this edition.
But you still got
tide, run and shoot and charge, same thing.
Still great, still brilliant.
Strike first, that's the same. And then retreat and still charge, but also no mortal damage inflicted by retreating, which is nice, because obviously that wasn't a thing generally in the last edition.
I'll say that it's still... it's a shame that it's only really the tides as a rule and deep strikes the rest of their battle traits, but the tides are still looking as strong as they did in this edition.
Yeah. The tides are fairly much exactly the same, just some slight alterations to fit the new edition. So we see this battle formation, which is just add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by companions in Arcalian units. So
I like that.
Your eels, your alapexes, your leviathans, all of those will qualify for it.
That looks really solid as a battle formation. It's definitely like one of the better ones they previewed as a teaser battle formation, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, it's completely new. The closest one really is the Fusen one that you could include like squads of the alapexes in, and they had like special rules. But yeah, I think this is just a nice simple one that doesn't require too much kind of list optimization to use. I think a lot of people just use that and just bought loads and loads of the alapexes, which is a pain,
the Alapex spam was everywhere.
They're like 35 quid each, I believe. So getting a whole bunch of them on the table of squads of 3, like 3 squads of 3, no, thank you.
They do give you like little teasers. I think they do say there is actually one for your Namati. They say something about there's some kind of magical one, because it does say about like sorcerers.
Yeah, the sorcerers of the Isharan, the Namarti hurl themselves into combat to protect their masters, or hit and run tactics of an ambushing soul raid.
That one sounds like it could be
Yes,
interesting.
yeah,
I'd
I
like to
mean,
I'd like to hear more on all of them, to be fair, but that one does sound like very thematic.
yes, I mean, particularly that last one is kind of what I built my army around. Like, they get in, they come out, they're really mobile and stuff like that. Yeah, so we see from the Lore of the Deeps, we have Steed of Tides, which I believe this one, I'm not too sure. It is fairly much the same,
Okay.
just the range is doubled now, so you can do it within 12 inches.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, and plus it's unlimited as well, so each wizard can cast it.
Yeah. So you can still move things around. The casting value has gone up one; it was 5 before.
Okay.
Because it is quite a powerful ability,
Yeah,
but not huge, not like the highest tier that you'd expect to pay double that. But yeah, being able to do that infinite number of times in a turn is huge, really, for the mobility.
Especially when you've got that +1 to charge tide as well. It's doing 8-inch charges is always better than doing the 9-inch charge.
I mean, if you have like, say, 3 like sorcerer characters, of which they do have a fair number of, then you can fairly much cover most of the board with the ability to pick up units and drop them anywhere. Now, the Eidolon and Mathlon, like the aspect of the sea, I think I see this as like it's mostly being toned down.
Okay.
I can't really see anything that's like a buff to what it has now. See, the Blast of Abyssal Energy is exactly the same, except it used to be D3 attacks, and now it's just a flat 3.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
It used to be flat 2 damage, and now it's D3. So, swings and roundabouts.
There's
although
potential for
the
more,
D3
but...
has the potential for more, but also potential for less, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then the Scythe Trident and the Deep Sea Scepter, those were 2 separate weapons, but they've just been combined into one and given D3 damage on it, whereas the Scythe Trident was 2 damage and it was 1 for the Scepter.
Okay. I've seen a lot of this actually, where they're just combining weapon profiles into one on these war scrolls now. It's
I mean, I guess like unless it's a really big model, you don't want to be going like they want you to have to go through as little steps as possible.
Going through a list of different melee attacks is just, after a while, it's kind of like you lose yourself in it, don't you? So.
Yeah. I do like it sometimes when they have the choice of like you can choose this weapon or this weapon. And like they have slightly different effects, but yeah, this is fine. Again, the fangs, they've taken a 2d6 roll and combined it into 6 attacks, so I think that's good.
Yeah,
like the times on a 2d6 you're going to roll under 6 is everything else like so Dormant Energies has changed. Now I think the previous one was re-rolling any casting, dispelling, or unbinding rolls, and it also had a healing element. So if you successfully cast any spells, you can heal up to D3 wounds.
Yeah, I vaguely remember seeing that on some battle reports I've watched, but
yeah.
I'll say healing definitely seems to. I mean, the fact that now you can heal from a rally on anything, healing seems to be less prevalent now. And so far, I don't think I've seen anything that particularly grants you any re-rolls to casting or anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, like healing, we have seen like a lot of stuff like Flesh Eater Courts have a lot of ways to bring stuff back and things like that. But this has also lost the other one, which is Cloying Sea Mists, which is its like personal spell, or one of the spells. Sorry.
Oh yeah, there's only like one special spell on the War Scroll. Well, most of them only seem to have like one unique spell now, don't they?
Yes. So the original one was just to pick a friendly unit within 12 inches and give them like D3 D3 healing.
Okay.
Or you could choose to damage an enemy for D3.
Well, this one seems quite good. I mean, like, you got to roll a 7 on dice, but there's +1 to cast. But like, subtracting 1 from save rolls from 3 different units isn't too bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good spell. And previously, it was the Tsunami of Terror on the previous version was pick up to D3 enemy units. So you do get the flat 3 on that now. It's 1 higher, but you're more likely to get, well, you can get all 3 basically.
And then if he's charged as well, he's got this. He's got his own rampage. Where
yes,
I
really like this one. It's don't charge my wizard basically, because you're not going to get.
Shall not.
Yes, very much. He is doing the Gandalf thing.
But yeah, it's stopping enemy units from being able to use commands until the rest of the turn. So yeah, it's always quite powerful.
Okay, I started this by saying I couldn't really see the any improvements in this one, but I will say this is an improvement. I did miss that out at first.
If he's been able to combine that Tsunami of Terror with like that Vengeful Waves ability, then he's pretty much anything around him is going to be a lot worse off for the save characteristics.
Yes. I think I'd wait to see. I want to see what the whole spell law is.
Oh yeah.
For the Deepkin, because it could be some of the healing stuff has been taken into there. It could be they've just taken healing out of the army completely, or kind of made it situational based on a certain character we haven't seen.
His passives looks quite useful as well, like just making sure that none of your Deepkin, wholly within 12 of them, have any negative modifiers to the control stats.
Yes. So that one, previously it was units wholly within 18 inches, had a bravery of 10.
Oh yeah.
So it's this rule, I'd say it would have been slightly less powerful in the previous edition, but this is more suited to the current edition.
Yeah. I say since bravery's a thing of the past, just the control game's what you want to aim for now.
I guess we'll see. I don't know. I feel a little disappointed because of the lack of healing, but
did he have a ward before?
Oh, no, he did not have the ward. Sorry, the ward was on the other one, I believe.
Having a 5-up ward added onto him is quite nice.
No, it does have a 5-up ward. Oh. Sorry, my mistake. I was missing that. Yes, that's from all the fish around it, basically.
Yeah.
So slight knockdown. I'd wait to see how the rest of the army plays and how it's going to kind of synergize with that. But there's some good stuff here still, so I'm not too disappointed.
But talking about synergizing with the rest of the army.
So, your Tidecaster, basically, before it let you use, in the previous edition, you had 4 different rituals, and you could choose to use one each turn just as a built-in, and this character let you use 2. However, now they've tied those abilities. They've taken out the one of them. If I can just find them here, what's the one they've taken out again? They've taken out the deep sight one, that friendly martyr units affected by high tide have a ward of 5-up, so you can't do that. And none of these are tied to the tide phase anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely
you can use them whenever.
Yeah. Which, again, it's kind of weird, like we were saying, like, why the deep strike stuff's there as 2 rules instead of, like, these rituals being an army-wide rule. Like, they're kind of just locked rules behind a character now. And
I don't mind it in this case, because I guess in terms of, like, simplifying things, like having less, like, okay, you got your army rules here, and this is just like, oh, this character, he does these. That's always a good way of kind of simplifying things.
It sounds pretty
useful. Could be to the detriment of the army in the whole, but I think this character it's going to make this character like the Tidecaster more important,
Oh
really.
yeah. I say it's quite nice as well that these aren't like once per game choices as well now. Like as
Yes,
long as you're
yeah.
rolling that free up, you can keep on using the same one if you wanted to.
Now, it's once per turn army, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can only do it once per turn still, but hmm, you know, good with bad. I don't want to sound too disappointed here. Like, there's
It should probably be like 100-point character or something. I'd probably worth throwing that in the list just to give yourself protection against shooting for one
oh
thing.
yeah. I mean, she previously obviously was important because you wanted to get that double
Yeah.
ritual thing, but yeah, I mean now to get to access those rituals is definitely going to be handy. We'll see how it plays out anyway. So next up we have the Alapex, and I actually really like what they've done here. You know, it's slightly different in the way it's been weighted, because previously it was really you only wanted the harpoon launcher because that had the longer range, it had more attacks. It had rend, like -1 rend, and although it was only D3 damage instead of a flat 3, like overall, like the other one was just not worth taking. And now they're both
you definitely
the
don't
same
want to be a
profile.
monster around these guys.
Yes, we'll get to that. Now, there's less attacks than the harpoon launcher previously had, on both of them, obviously. But they do both get flat 3 damage now, and the choice of the anti-monster or the anti-cavalry rend, with the rend, the 1 rend already there. So that's very nice. The Alapex's ferocious bite, that's fairly much the same now. They've changed, like reweighted the hit and wounds.
Rend 3 against a monster though, that's
disgusting.
That
is super handy. And you lose a couple of attacks on the barbed hooks and blade, but yeah, it is what it is. Otherwise, and they've lost 2 inches of movement, which I don't know. I don't know about that. But yeah, I guess they were ridiculous already.
Threat range with their guns though. It's like
So, despite the fact that some of those things have slightly come down, I'm not too bothered about like that because of the new rules. So, bloodthirsty predators now is like that's fairly much the same.
Oh yeah, they very thematic of them being shark-like creatures.
Yes, yeah, the blood in the water thing. What is new is ensnared, and there was entangled previously on the net launchers, which just stopped an opponent making pile-in moves in that turn, which it's I don't think that really had a huge effect on any battles, except unless you're like a really technical player. The average person wouldn't really have seen much benefit from that. But now you can use this on either of the weapon options.
Oh yeah. Like is it that? I'd say I thought it was just like the one weapon option first, and then just reading it back, then it is like, oh yeah, you do pick a monster or cavalry unit that's been shot by them. It's like...
Yep, and it doesn't say anywhere that it's locked to which of the guns you've taken.
Yeah, that's weird because like if you've got the anti-cavalry one, you can still hurt a monster. You can still reduce a monster's dice.
So on a 3+, you subtract 1 from the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls from the enemy. Like that's huge. You just want to take down a like huge monster that's lumbering towards you, a fast unit of cavalry that's going to charge you. Yep, you can just like throw a net over them and just have them like, I can't get you. I'm in the net.
Throwing the cellophane S off the Superman's chest.
Yes.
The one thing I have noticed about their War Scroll, though, is no shooting combat.
No, no.
They have to
Which,
wait until turn 4 and that tide to be able to retreat and still shoot, don't they?
yeah, I mean, if you look at the way they're built, like the pintles kind of that the guns are mounted on, kind of would
Oh yeah, they're
reward
floating way
longer
over the top
range.
of anything.
Yeah, yeah, you can't really aim that thing at something
Shoot
that's
it
right in
through
your
the
face.
Alpex's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
nice,
I
solid
like this
looking.
war scroll.
Yeah, yeah. They look terrifying. To be fair, it's like
I know in the current edition people ran loads of Alapexes. I think they've been toned down in terms of profile, but they've been given nice enough situational rules that I think they're going to find a brand new niche.
Oh, it's like just reducing dice rolled on cavalry and monsters. Like if you've got a couple of Alapexes shooting at a couple of different monsters and cavalry, it's
Oh yeah.
yeah,
So
it's going to add up to some failed charge rolls.
a lot of these abilities are kind of revolving around either boosting your movement, like making you more maneuverable, and stopping your opponent being as maneuverable, which I really like. Yeah. So we have the Ishlin Guard, and this again, this was the option that no one ever took. Everyone took Morsaw Guard because you want the extra range. Why would you not want the extra range? Whereas now there's no range in this edition, so they've done a bit to balance it out, I think.
So maybe it's their time to shine.
Yes, yes. So previously, like you ignored modifiers to save rolls, and you get a save of 3+ instead of 4+ if you charged. Now you just get a ward of 5 up if you charged that turn, which solid. Yes, I'll take that. You get the particular anti-infantry thing up here, which, yep, you've got to assume the Morser are going to be like anti-cavalry, I don't know, anti-monsters maybe with the spears.
It doesn't. I mean, yeah, it says the unit has a 5+ ward if it's charged in the same turn. I'm guessing that's just until the end of the turn they have that 5+ ward, or
Yeah, I guess
it's
so.
a bit. Yeah, the wordings could use a few more words in there, but
and it does say charged in the same turn.
Yeah,
so yeah. But they also have this ability now, which is obviously Biovoltaic Barrier. The previous ability was what I just said, ignoring modifiers to the save rolls on a regular one. And now on a 3+, it says any combat phase on a 3+, subtract 1 from the attacks of the target unit's weapons. So
even if you're still locked in combat with someone in the next combat phase, then you've still got the potential to take all their weaponry down a notch.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, if a unit charges into you, they'll, you'll get the ward save, and like it will trigger in their combat phase. You won't have to wait for yours. So yeah, I really think these are going to have a new niche as well.
It'd be interesting to see what the other one's profile's like, but yeah, that one does look that does look quite nice.
Yes.
And I say you definitely don't want to be infantry around them either. It's
Okay, so moving on to the spearhead stuff, we see the Soul Road Hunt, and I've got this box. It's a fantastic box. I think you get a good real mix of all the stuff.
So just getting like your Alapex and some of the Ishlin on there.
Now the Soul Scryer, the hero you get, was like not so great in the previous edition, but I hopefully it works well in Spearhead. So you see the Tide abilities are fairly much exactly the same as the main game, and it's like subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks. Run, shoot, and charge. Strike first.
Run, shoot, and charge on an army with that kind of speed on that kind of board. It's like...
Yes. So you're going to be getting it everywhere on the board in turn 2 if you haven't already first one.
I like the fact that the thralls have the little recursion symbol on them.
Yes. So you will be able to reinforce these, which is nice. And presumably they'll have some kind of ability to heal them on the main war scroll, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see. So they get the add +1 to damage against monsters, which is nice. But they also have anti-infantry, so the extra rend, which is a nice kind of dual roll thing.
Yeah, they had like a weird thing before, didn't they? Like, depending on the wounds characteristic of what they were attacking, they got different benefits.
Yeah. Now, what was it?
Seems to recall it was like an extra kind of like attack against something, or
add 1 to the attack's characteristic if the target has a wounds characteristic of 1. Add 1 to the damage characteristic instead if it has wounds of 3 or more.
Oh, that's good. I mean, like, yeah, they're keeping the extra damage, but then locking it to just monsters. But then they've got the extra rend against any infantry now.
Yep. And that's actually all they show us for the spearhead. We only get those 2 things for it.
I'll say we've seen the Alapex's full war scroll, and then
yes, both the other units. I would like to see the Soul Scryer. Is that a Soul Scryer? I can never remember the names of these. Let me have a look. Check a point. Soul Scryer. Yes, I got that right.
But in all, like, how are you feeling looking at this compared to what you were looking at in your rules before?
I mean, there's a couple of things that I'm kind of cursing that I didn't get a chance to play with that, but they could also be put somewhere else in the book and moved around. I don't know quite the full extent of it. There are also some rules that I'm really looking forward to trying out now.
It's the worst thing, isn't it, when you kind of get in the army so late in the edition and you've got all these plans of things you want to do, and I say the Flesh Eaters, it was just like, I'm glad I've been able to pull some of these tricks out before we've gone into the new edition.
Yeah. I really like in particular that they've opened up some of the builds, like giving the poor Ishlian Guard actually a chance to shine. Although I'm sure the people who built themselves like 8 squads of Morser Guard or whatever.
I mean, hopefully it doesn't mean bad things for the Morser Guard. It's like...
Yes, that's another thing. But I also really like this colour scheme they've got there. I don't think I've seen that one before.
I was going to say the black sheen on like the spearhead box picture one. That's like it's like a really nice scheme.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, yeah. All in all, not one of the top tier armies we've seen, but I'd say it's above average.
Yeah,
it's not particularly bad.
They definitely look like they're going to have some fun tricks up their sleeves, like everything. Almost every profile seems to have some kind of like anti in its weapon description as well.
Which is always nice. It seems to be a good rule to have in this edition.
It seems like we're going to go for a trip into the Garden of Nurgle next.
Yes.
Next army faction.
So Maggotkin coming up soon. We'll try and get out a highlights video of that as soon as possible. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you've got any comments, if you play Deepkin and you're concerned about these rules, if you're really happy with them, please let us know down below. We've been Bleedy Tree Gaming, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.